People who have reached a 9 or 10 on the pain scale, what happened? Had a CAT scan at 36. They gave me IV contrast fluid, told me I might feel like I had to pee, no big deal. Make sure to hold still. Put me in the machine. Within a minute, I started feeling warm. As they started the scan, I started breathing heavily. Then I started screaming. It felt like my entire body was on fire, every nerve. They were confused and freaked out. I got out and sat up. But it wasn't until a nurse gave me a shot of Benadryl that I started feeling better. Turns out I had a full-body internal allergic reaction to the contrast media, which contained iodine. Never happened before. The worst feeling of my life. My great-uncle died due to this exact scenario, a massive allergic reaction, and they weren't able to save him in time. I'm very glad you had a much better outcome. I could not handle IV potassium. The nurse told me she was going to push it very slowly and with a lot of saline, and it still felt like my entire arm was on fire and the fire was spreading. So she flushed with pure saline, then started pushing the potassium slower and with more saline. Still had me screaming. Finally, after about 15 minutes of pushing the meds at the slowest pace possible, she asked if I would rather take a pill instead. So she shows up with the pill, big-ass pill. I'm staring it at and wondering how successful rescuing a choking patient would be at the height of COVID with bare stat. So I decided to break it apart, tossed half in my mouth, and I couldn't get it past my throat. Took a few panicked moments before I finally forced it down. I start working up the courage to choke on the next piece, and the nurse walks back in and tells me I can just dissolve it in the water and drink it. I tried to give birth vaginally, and after hours of labor and hours of pushing, something felt horribly wrong. Then it felt like the worst pain imaginable. I ended up having an emergency C-section, but something went wrong with the drugs, and I could feel the incision. My uterus had literally burst. After closing, the doctor was checking to make sure my uterus was solid, and it had multiple other tears. I almost bled out. The doctor cried, telling my boyfriend what had happened. Ruptured large intestine. Morphine helped a lot. Mine was in the process of rupturing, that or infected. I had been running a fever, nausea and vomiting, bleeding through multiple tampons an hour, the worst cramps I've ever had, and would get pains that made me almost pass out for over a week. I had stage 4 endometriosis. It turned out my reproductive organs were covered in necrosis. I had a 7-centimeter cyst that was covering one ovary, the one causing the flu-like symptoms, and a cluster of small cysts hiding between my other ovary and intestines. Sometimes, when I would go to the bathroom, the cysts that were between my ovary and intestine, when they were inflamed or aggravated, would get squeezed by my bowels moving. I would turn ghost white, my ears would ring, my chest would start pounding all the way up to my ears. It felt like a red-hot poker was stabbing my abdomen. I would get super nauseous. I became very faint and dizzy, and sometimes I almost passed out. I may even have once or twice. I also used to have cluster headaches for about 2 decades, and I can verify that ovarian cysts can absolutely be just as painful as cluster headaches. I would say both qualify as an 11-10 on the pain scale. It felt like I was going to die. Molar infection. The pain was so intense I had to control myself to just not curl in a ball and cry. I had to take antibiotics for a week and then extract the tooth. It's like the most intense nerve pain ever, but it doesn't stop. No thinking, no sleeping, only the pain. Now I say, I no longer am afraid of death, since death can be a release from pain. Lol. Let's just say I've been through similar pain. My single biggest regret in life is not taking care of my teeth when I was younger. Dental issues are serious, people. If you have badly infected teeth, it can cause fatal cardio issues and prevent you from getting other types of life-saving surgery. You don't want to reach the "hey, you'd better take care of all this or you're going to die" level of dental issues, because I promise you, it is the 9th circle of hell. Plus, you'll still have to fix it, and by then, it'll be way more expensive, I assure you. Please, no matter your age, your financial situation, or your busy schedule, do everything you can in life to prioritize your teeth. Brush twice a day, floss every night, stop lying to your dentist about this and really do it, and use a fluoride mouthwash. This will take you a grand total of like 7 minutes each day. You will find out sooner or later that it's worth the 7 minutes. Don't skimp on it, don't cut corners, just clean your teeth, and go in for the twice-yearly cleanings. Schedule the next one on your way out. Just do it. Bacterial meningitis. My brain felt like a contained explosion that was trapped reverberating in my skull, but it wanted out and constantly let me know about it. My daughter had viral meningitis when she was 7. She was screaming in pain and literally rolling on the floor. It was so scary. I put her in the car and rushed her to the hospital, and she started projectile vomiting. I called ahead and nurses met us at the door and whisked her away. Her temp was stupid high, and only Oxy helped with the pain. The scariest time of my entire life. Had tubes in my ears as a kid. When I was 6, our new family doctor told me that the tubes had fallen out and that I could shower bathe, etc. without my earplugs from then on. Mom was skeptical, so she just washed my hair in the sink that night, just to make sure everything was okay. Everything was not okay. I woke up in the middle of the night screaming bloody murder because it felt like someone had stabbed me in the head with 1,000 knives and then set them on fire. Mom rushed me to the hospital, where I had to have emergency surgery to remove the tubes that were very much still in my ears. Thanks to Dr. Dipshit, I had gotten water behind my eardrums, which had rapidly become severely infected. Thank God my mom has always been one to err on the side of caution and didn't let me have a full shower or a bath that night, or it could have potentially killed me. Severe infections near the brain aren't ideal. I'm 34 now, and I still remember that pain vividly. I have thankfully been exceedingly lucky in not gravely injuring myself. However, the most egregious amount of pain I've ever been in was getting stung by a stingray. Wasn't paying attention and moving quickly through the shallow ocean, and felt a slice. I thought I'd stepped on glass, but by the time I got out of the water, the pain was so intense I couldn't even think. Felt like someone put my foot in a blender. I got treated quickly and thankfully did not go through the peak of it. For future reference, submerge the affected area in the hottest water you can stand without burning yourself. I have been stung twice by a sand dollar stingray, same beach, 10 years apart, and I still don't have feeling from the most recent sting at the top of my foot. Kind of ruined a honeymoon, huh? Rheumatoid arthritis. My knees had been so inflamed that I wasn't able to bend them for about a year. Had to learn to use the toilet standing up, even number 2. Anyway, one day I started to stumble, and I caught myself by automatically bending my knee to stabilize and not fall. It was like a gunshot. I passed out and woke up in a puddle of vomit. No idea how long I was out. Thankfully, I was on the carpet and didn't hit my head on the way down. I've had 2 children and I've passed 3 large kidney stones. This pain was beyond all that, but it didn't linger. Worst I ever felt by far, but only for seconds. Kidney stones. UP came here to comment on this. A couple of years ago, I spent an entire month trying to pass a 6 stone that kept getting stuck along the way down the ureter. That kidney ballooned up pretty big from being blocked for so long. I get my bunk, rock-making kidney problems from my mom. When I asked her which was worse, kidney stones or birth, she just looked at me stone-faced and said, "I would honestly rather have fat-headed twins as big as you were, 10 pounds birth weight, without an epidural, than ever have to pass a single kidney stone again. Don't wish death on your enemies. Wish large kidney stones on them if you really hate them." The filling fell off my tooth and the live nerve was exposed. I couldn't even drink water. The worst pain I've ever experienced, worse than appendix bursting, chipped bones, torn ligaments, sprains, the whole thing lol. I don't think enough people know about trigeminal neuralgia. It's nicknamed the suicide disease because it's so painful and is considered one of the most painful conditions known to man. It results from the trigeminal nerve in your face being compressed, usually by a blood vessel. You cannot cure it with medication. Opioids don't impact the pain. It gets worse over time. It typically only affects one side of your face, though some people get bilateral TN. The pain feels like electrified barbed wire getting flossed through your gums over and over, but you don't go numb once the pain is too bad. Because the trigeminal nerve has 3 branches, you can also feel this pain in your tongue, across the bridge of your nose, behind your eye, and up through the scalp. At least that's what I experienced. The pain just gets sharper and sharper. The pain can be triggered by eating, talking, touching your face, lying on your side, changes in temperature/wind/air pressure, or it can just flare up for no reason. When I had TN, at the worst I'd have flare-ups for about a minute on, 5 seconds off, every waking hour. If you've ever had dental nerve pain, imagine someone taking a drill and boring straight into that nerve 24/7. Most days I was at a 7-10, but a handful of times I'd spike up to an 11. That was really bad. You're almost in shock after it happens. I eventually, after 10 years, got a brain surgery called an MVD, where they drill a hole through your skull to find the compressed nerve. They wrap the nerve with Teflon and put a sponge between the nerve and the blood vessel to keep it from getting compressed again. There can be multiple compression points, so I was in surgery for about 5 hours. The good news is that I've been pain-free now, going on 5 years. It could return at any time, and I try not to think about what I'll do if the pain returns. TN is commonly misdiagnosed as TMJ or another dental issue. It often starts for no reason at all. It's more common in people 50, 60 plus, but can affect people at any age. I was 20 when I was diagnosed. I just want to say that if this sounds like you or someone you know, please keep advocating for yourself and finding doctors until you get the treatment you need. It took me 5 months and dozens of specialists before I got diagnosed. It took me 10 years before I found a neurosurgeon who would operate on me, and I had to force my way in to get an appointment. You don't have to live with the pain.